Well, here we are at the third version of the Wilderness series. I've enjoyed thinking about these things, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to them. You never know what will happen in the wilderness. You never know what temptation will arise, how your path will be obstructed, or how your faith might be tested. That's one of the lessons, for it is not only true with the wilderness, but it's the truth of how we travel through life. Bill, our director of operations, and I talk every day when I come into the office. Most days there is something that we need to deal with that we never expected or planned for. Unfortunately, on many of those days, that means that we have something new to spend our valuable capital reserves on, whether a leaky roof or a broken toilet. Every day we face something we didn't expect. I have often said to Bill, I come to work every day expecting the unexpected. That is just how I've come to understand my life. I cannot plan or control everything, and whatever comes at me is what I need to deal with and adjust to. This approach to life was powerfully tested a little more than a year ago when I was diagnosed with grade 3C prostate cancer with a 3-centimeter tumor in my prostate. 1 year ago, on April 20th, I began treatment for cancer I never felt, I never saw, and I never knew I had. Now, I'm pretty nimble on my feet when it comes to life, but this was one way out of left field. And when you enter into what I will call the cancer healthcare pipeline, some of you know this, it is a long step off a very specific type of wilderness. As my wife Alice and I navigated this pipeline, this wilderness, we found things that would test our faith and serve to reaffirm it. There were test results that kept getting worse. There were various procedures that were unpleasant to say the least. But there were also little miracles along the way, like a camp friend that I have known for almost 50 years who happens to work at the National Cancer Institute, who hooked me up with specialists at Johns Hopkins within 48 hours of my diagnosis. And the amazing staff at the Proton Therapy Center, who with their help and dedication, I appear to be, for now, cancer-free. As I have emerged from this journey into the wilderness, I now knew at least one thing. As I emerged from that wilderness, I knew that I was never going back to where I was before. I will have to be tested for the rest of my life and live with the fact that I may have a reoccurrence. And then again, maybe not. In fact, that's what my doctor says. Maybe you will, but maybe you're cured. And so I thought, that's just the way I now need to know how to live. I think that we are all going to have to think about what the wilderness has been for the last couple of years and what it means to emerge from it. One thing I know I can tell you is that the way we do church and the way that we live together in society is never going back to the way it was. Mask wearing, variance, multi-platform delivery of our services and programs, political uncertainty, and the evolution of the post-World War II world order are either all factors that will keep us in the wilderness or signs that we need to emerge from it. And what do I mean by emerge? I mean, how can we come to work every day and understand that there will be things that will happen that we can't know or control, and how we deal with our attitudes about that are a part of our ability as to whether or not we can emerge from the wilderness. Unlike the Bible, emerging for us is not on a timeline. It will not be 40 days or 40 years. Emerging will take place in our minds and in our hearts. Here at UUCF, the landscape of where we will be emerging may take a couple of years for things to normalize into whatever the new normal feels like. And as I said over the last couple of weeks, there's no rushing out of the wilderness. The only way to emerge is by going through. And my guess is there will continue to be world events that will impact all of us and maybe the way we do church together. But I do believe that there will also be a new normal and that we, after some time, will adjust to it, like those who have in the past. I wish I could say that the same for COVID and the political, social, cultural, geopolitical, and environmental upheaval we are experiencing in the world. But once again, emerging from the wilderness takes time and may be more of a function of what is in our mind and what is in our hearts, rather than what's happening in the world swirling around us. If our minds can adjust to being nimble, to understanding that we live in a time of rapid change, that we may face something every day that may require creativity and grace, then I think we can emerge. If we find comfort in the experiences of what we have known and loved, and yet still understand that we will not be able to cocoon in them, then I think we can emerge. If we are ready to rise arm in arm, facing these things, truly committed to figuring them out together in the spirit of love, things we were never prepared for, then I think we can emerge. And in our hearts, what does it mean to renew one's faith after such times, tough times in the wilderness? Upon occasion, I have talked about training as a chaplain at Children's Hospital. One of the units I worked on was the oncology unit. On a daily basis, I had no idea of what would be faced as I entered into that unit, what parents would be facing, what children would be facing. The strength of faith of so many of those families as they traveled through the cancer healthcare pipeline was astounding to me. I thought about all of them as I entered the wilderness myself. And it is one of the reasons I chose the reading for today that Diana read. Because a few whose desert wanderings go past endurance stop focusing on themselves at all. They discover people and some sense of whatever you want to call God. They move far beyond self-serving, calculation, manipulation, cleverness, methods of successful habits. They find common ground with humanity in its brokenness and in its aspirations, in its resilience and its daily acts of common goodness. Through all of what has happened to all of us and to the world, these past few years, we still have the ability to wander, get through, and then emerge. Although frequently tested, although at times feeling tattered and bruised, although still dealing with things we never could have possibly imagined, our faith comes to us by finding common ground with humanity in all of its brokenness and many charted and yet unfulfilled aspirations. We've been traveling through the wilderness, and although we can choose to stay, we may also need to consider if that time has been long enough. There's no formula for this. There's no certainty in my words. There's no right way, no clear path, no parting of our Red Seas. There's only our shared challenges, our shared gifts, our ability to support each other as we gingerly walk out of the desert in times of understandable doubt and predictable imperfection. For those of us who have chosen to be a part of this community, there is also a promise a covenant to help, to love, and to support each other, even in times of wobbly uncertainty. As we emerge to take a deep breath, renew our faith, and move forward together into whatever comes next. Each one of us has so much to offer and share, and as we emerge, that will serve as the backbone and foundation of our way forward into wherever we will end up going. Today, I stand here so grateful for all of you. For each and every day, you help me renew my faith. So let us each be the renewable source of faith for each other as we face whatever the next day will bring. May that be so, and amen.